honored several female officers for outstanding service.
Among them is our next guest, who is sitting down for a chat with our Kirsten Cole. Hey, Kirsten.
Yeah, guys, you know what, the NYPD, a large part of what makes New York the greatest city in the world, keeping citizens and visitors safe. And this morning we want to introduce you to one of the greats of the department, the Woman of the Year, Chief Kathleen O'Reilly. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Good morning, it's my pleasure.
You are the head of the Domestic Violence Unit, 34,500 officers within the NYPD. What does it say about domestic violence and how it is treated within the department when they honor you as the Woman of the Year?
Well, domestic violence has always been a top priority for the NYPD, but it was a particular great honor for me last night to accept that award. Our department prides itself on its diversity and its equality, and it was a real testimony for me to accept that award.
It was fascinating to me to hear some of the things that you're doing within domestic violence today and how things are being changed a little bit. You tell your officers when they respond to a scene, treat this like a homicide scene. Explain that to the average person who wouldn't get it.
Well, often victims of domestic violence don't want to or cannot proceed with the case for a wide variety of reasons. It could be religious reasons, it could be financial, emotional, or fear. Fear, absolutely. So we tell our officers to gather the evidence like it's a homicide scene. If that means getting ear witness testimony, eyewitness testimony, taking photographs of injuries. Often the injuries tell the story. Taking photographs of damaged property, vouchering evidence. We can move forward with that prosecution without the victim's testimony if we gather the evidence.
And that, I would imagine, takes a great amount of time, and that shows a great commitment, again, to the department. How much does domestic violence play a role in our overall landscape of calls? How many calls do we go to for domestic violence in the city?
We respond to over 250,000 radio runs of domestic violence every year. That's 680 calls on average on any given day. Even more so on Fridays and Saturdays.
It's a huge part of all of our lives, isn't it?
It is, but also if you think about that domestic violence is underreported. So there's 250,000 calls, but there's many more cases where the victim hasn't reported the crime. 70% of domestic violence homicide victims have never filed a prior domestic incident report.
We are a model across the world for how we handle domestic violence. Talk about some of the people that are coming in so that they can model their departments off of what it is that New York is doing.
Recently, we had 2 visitors from Dallas Police Department. They came and spent 3 days here. They went out on home visits, which is the cornerstone of our domestic violence program. And they went back to Dallas and have started implementing our home visit program in Dallas.
When you're a woman and you're thinking about domestic violence, and if you're concerned that something may be going on in your home that may escalate, and especially when there are children involved, what do you do if it hasn't escalated to the point where you want to pick up the phone and call 911? How should you handle that?
Well, you can reach out to the advocates and Safe Horizon, Sanctuary for Families, the Family Justice Centers. We have a Family Justice Center in 3 of our 5 boroughs, and in the Bronx, Brooklyn, and Queens.
And Safe Horizons, I know, is a 24-hour hotline. So if this is a middle-of-the-night thing that's on your mind, you can talk to somebody.
Absolutely. And we have domestic violence prevention officers in every precinct and police service area in the city, and they have people that they can, where a victim could reach out and get help.
And the NYPD has really beefed up its number of officers responding to calls as well. This has paid some rich rewards. You've had some real downward trending in domestic violence and homicides.
Absolutely. When Commissioner Kelly took over in 2002, there were 150 dedicated domestic violence prevention officers. Today, there are over 450 officers doing that work. That's a testimony to his commitment to the domestic violence program.
A lot of men on the police force. I'm going to get a little personal here. You're a woman in a male-dominated industry, although there have been great strides made. What's it like to be a woman? How do you give back to the younger officers?
Well, I'll tell you, I told my audience last night as I received my award that when I came on the NYPD, I didn't believe that I couldn't do the job as well as my male counterparts. I believed I could do it better than them, and I do my job better than them, and I will continue to do my job better than them.
We love to hear that. Chief Kathleen O'Reilly, head of the Domestic Violence Unit and Woman of the Year, we want to thank you for being here on behalf of the NYPD. We also want to give a shout out to Chief James Secreto, who grabbed that honor for the Man of the Year. Suki and Corey, over to you.
That's why